Now we're going to make some vegetable quinoa pilaf to go with our Middle Eastern spaghetti squash ground turkey. Got some just straight plain quinoa here. You know, if you're not used to using quinoa, don't be scared of it. It's actually very easy to make. It's actually easier to make than brown rice or even some pastas. Got a nice size stock pot here. Not too big, not too small. And I'm going to just pour these bags of quinoa right into there. Now, a couple options here are you might want to rinse the quinoa first, just get all the extra dust off. Another option is to toast it, which is going to give it a little bit more nice, nutty flavor. You can also saute some onions and some garlic, and you can add that to it so you got some aromatics. We're just making it straight away, pretty fast, and we're going to add some other things to it. So I'm not worried about making the quinoa itself too flavorful, but those are all good options for when you want to do something just a little bit different. I'm going to fill with water just to cover the quinoa. Just maybe not even a full inch. You can see, even though it looks like it's at the top, it's actually, it's kind of floating up there. So you want to make sure it gets off the sides. Okay? We're going to get that on high heat. We're going to put that on high heat. We're going to bring it up to a boil and down to a simmer. So right now, I'm going to cover it, let it come up to a boil. Once your quinoa starts to steam, you start to see steam coming out of the top, make sure you reduce the heat from high down to a simmer. You might not even see the water because it's underneath the surface of the quinoa, but we're just going to leave it for now. We're going to let that sit. And I love to retain steam. Because if you think about it, the steam is still cooking it when it's in there. So you could have something that's a little dry, but if there's water underneath and there's steam on top, the steam is going to cook it also from the top down, just as the water is cooking it from the bottom up. So it's very important to keep that covered. So once your quinoa has basically evaporated and absorbed all the liquid, you're going to have a nice roasting fork like this. And you want to get in there and separate all of those grains. So separate all the quinoa. Steam should be released as you do this. You'll notice some steam coming up. If you do it right after you pull it off, there's going to be more steam. If you let it sit for a little bit longer, that steam is going to absorb. So basically a good rule of thumb is if it's a little bit undercooked, which it's a little bit better to have it undercooked than overcooked because you can cover it, let the steam, the residual steam continue to cook what's undercooked, and then basically let the cover off as soon as you feel like it's cooked to the amount you want. With other grains, you might want to do that, you might want to fluff it a little bit faster so it doesn't kind of become one congealed brick of grainy goodness. But with this, quinoa can actually sit, and you notice how nicely those quinoa grains are each separating from one another. It's not like when you get a big mushy pile of rice or something like that. You can see that the grains are all separate. I'm going to cover this, let that the little bit of steam that I still have in there, let its way out, fluff it again another 5 minutes or so, and it'll be ready to go.